You are entering the cosmos.
Why, hello.
Oh, well, hello.
Well, fancy meeting you here. What are you guys doing?
What are you kids doing in my living room?
Am I-
Oh, shoot. No, don't shoot us. David, call 911.
No.
It's
Am I
another
in
weirdo.
like I mean
No.
I'm always excited to be with Renee, but right now I'm on the same screen with Manny.
That
It's
is
me
a little
and
weird.
I've like over like the past couple of months I've slowly been developing a massive Manny crush. Which is very similar to a man crush, but it's more specific because
Wow.
he's specifically Manny.
Specifically, Manny could be a show where we bring on all the people
And
who
now
love
it's time for
specifically
Manny. Hey,
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it.
it's like an old 60s
That's so
sitcom
funny.
or something.
Like
It's
I've gotten to the point just since I've been hanging out in Cosmos. There are so many opportunities for show ideas. Like
I know.
every time like there's like any
Ridiculous.
conversation, I'm like, oh my God, that could be a show. That could be a show. Specifically, Manny. I like it already.
It's like Oprah. You get a show. You get a show. You get a show.
Everybody
I
gets
love
a
it.
show.
And it's weird, and I feel bad because there was there were multiple. I'm not going to say who they are in case they're watching, but there were multiple people over this time who pitched shows and we just couldn't fit them in, and we just, you know what I mean, like, or it didn't work, or we actively did not want that person to have the show. So then those people, so then people would feel really, yeah, or people then like sometimes
they were assholes.
I felt really bad because I feel like what David's experiences is really true, but it's only true of the people we really like. And I'm sorry if I offended anybody, but there's only 24 hours in the day, and then prime time is very short, as it is, you know.
Well,
so you
now people are going to think, is she talking about me?
Yeah, I know. That's why
am I the one? Is that why?
Yeah, well, you guys know who you are. You guys know who you are. No, and it's never anything. It's actually never a personal thing. It's more just like there's only so many producers, only so many directors, only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
So, and it's a major commitment because you have a whole team behind you. When you have a show here, you know, you have the graphics team, you have all the promotion, you have all the different clips that go up in the social media, which is about 4 different people who do that. And then it's like, you know, director, producers, the posters, everything has like, there are people who are plugged in there, which we love. Our team leaders, we have awesome teams that come forward, and everybody's doing it out of like love in their heart. You know, everybody's doing it because they're passionate about it, and they're passionate about community and creativity. And I know, David, that was one of the things you said you really wanted to hone in on tonight, what Cosmos and SDF, what the communities here have meant to you. I mean, I think it's awesome because we're all artists are getting to meet and encourage one another.
A little side note though. All right. So you had a massive buildup about everything that it takes to put on one of these shows. And it does take a lot, and I'm seeing that, and there are only a handful of people for each task. But what I will say is that Renee is the only person that can do all of those for one show, and do it effortlessly.
I appreciate that. And I want to say that wasn't accidental. It is true that I'm passionate about this. It is true that I've always kind of wanted to do something like this. And I did work for a television station in Georgia for like a year and a half. I remember sometime around my undergraduate degree, which gave me some kind of introduction to how real television stations is before all of the virtual stuff. But I think we need to talk about Dennis Tardon, because all of this, it's exponential. Like his career is what launched everything that I do. So anything that I'm doing, that's because of Dennis. So, and then anybody who's doing something because I gave them that opportunity, they're doing it because of Dennis Tardon. That's why, like, Ruby, when she's doing her cooking show, she's always like, shout out to Dennis Tardon. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. You know, she's never met Dennis, but it's this progeny of progeny, and it's the artistry begetting artistry. So Manny has known Dennis for years and knows how talented he is. But Dennis really is the reason. He doesn't like me saying that because he's humble. And he said, no, you know, he would not want me to say that, but I'm going to say that. Like, he's the reason why all of this happened. And that's just me being practical. And so David had this great experience because he reached out to Dennis, I guess, or they connected on Facebook. And then it was like a whole evening of David experiencing Dennis for the first time, which was so great. Yeah, you want to talk us through that? That was so great.
It was instant connection. I sent him a friend request, and he hopped into my inbox with the nicest message, the nicest way to start a conversation too. It was, you know, it's too far back because we had so much conversation, so I'm not going to scroll. But he said something along the lines of like, isn't it great that we get to know, like, that we get to have these amazing friends, that we get to know these amazing people, and then something along the lines of that he looks forward to cultivating, you know, a friendship, or seeing where this takes us. And it was just, I was like, I don't think anybody that has never been the first message with anybody. And it made me feel extremely comfortable to strike up a conversation with him. And we had a great talk. We had a great talk, to the point where I think I talked so much that eventually he's like, all right, I got to go to bed now, you know?
Well, it's great because here's the thing. David, in addition to being so many other things, and we'll get into that, but he's also our Discord wrangler. See, David is young and hip and cool, and he knows about things like Discord, which
I'm going to need you to not lie about me, okay?
No, really, seriously. So he's like, so he trained, I guess, Sandy, he and MM set up this whole Discord thing for Cosmos. And MM does too much to even try to mention here. She's like the Wizard of Oz, honestly, like behind the scenes with everything, and sometimes in front of the scenes.
Love
but
her.
She also set all that up. And then David is this like whiz. I think she trained you, David. I think she trained you with Discord. You trained Sandy. And so David was so excited.
I was previously familiar with Discord, but but I think, you know, it was really, it went so well because I didn't have a lot of Discord experience necessarily.
Okay.
But I got to, like, between Em and I, like, we've worked on figuring more things out, and
they have a whole community. Okay, here's the thing. I don't even understand what they do. There's so many layers to Discord right now. So after he meets Dennis Tardon, he's like, he goes into Discord apparently, and then Sandy's telling me, you got to get into Discord. We're talking about Manny and Dennis and all that. And I'm like, I don't know how to find my way again in Discord. I've been there a few times, but I can't. And then Sandy talked me through it, and I get in there, and it's all about Dennis and how amazing he is. And there were people in there who really are more newer members of the family here. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to explain, you know, Dennis, and it's great for me to be able to do that. But for me, I'm always like, but he's the whole reason. So I love when people are like, wait, who's this Dennis? And it's like, well, we're all kind of here because of Dennis.
He's our dad.
He's the be all end all. Okay. Yeah, so they're talking about that. And then, okay. I was going to segue into Manny, but I want to hear what Manny was going to say there. Sorry.
Oh, no. We were talking before the show. David asked me, you know, how I got into Cosmos, and I said, well, through Dennis. Mm-hmm. You know, he introduced me to you, Renee, and Rory, and everybody else, and then Rory invited me on Big Monster Briefing Room, as Sergeant Havoc, character
which we all love. We all love Havoc. I mean, let's just give a shout out to Havoc.
Yep. And then then we created our own, created my own show, or our own show. I don't want to take full credit for it. The two guys and a gal, and sometimes a gal, talking about movies. And then now we have another show called Outside the Lines that we're working on. So yeah, it's just blossomed into this thing. And occasionally co-hosting, and you know, even if it means me kind of actually sort of inviting myself onto the show.
No, he never did that. Let me just clear that up. He
Oh.
literally had me and others like grabbing at his feet, like, please. And he's like, all right. And then he gets on there and he's like, I invited myself. And I'm like, no, you were very kind to be there, because he always adds something. So we're talking about Dennis Tardon in this Discord, and there's, you know, and then it turns into Manny. And everybody there as well, who's a fan of Manny's, you know, these people are watching Manny's progress here, and they're like, "Where did this guy come from? He's not afraid to tackle the serious conversations. He does the controversial. He's so solemn, you know. He gets in there." And
by the people, she means me.
No, well, that too. It was you too, yeah. And I'm
a lot of me.
And I'm like, yeah, like Manny is incredible. There's not anything he can't do. So it was so cool. So then I came to Manny and I'm like, you know, there's like a room full of people in this thing called Discord that I'm still learning, singing your praises all night.
I kept wondering, my
He's
ears
like
kept burning. All
he's in
what?
bed like, he's
I have
like
a
damn, he's like,
disease? Why are my ears burning?
Get like ice packs to go to sleep at night, you know?
It's just great. And then we do the same thing about David. And I want to say all this here because there's too much negative gossip in the world. And then when we say nice things behind each other's backs, it usually doesn't get to the subject. And I'm like, no, I feel like people deserve to know that they're being loved upon and praised upon. And so everybody's always talking about Manny or Dennis Tardon or David, because David, Sandy reminded me, David has his hand in a lot of pots.
You're saying something that is true of like our basically our entire human experience. Like why do we put so much focus on the negative, and then the positive things just kind of, you know, fall, you know, like just disappear, you know? Or the news, I don't watch the news anymore. I can't stand to watch the news. There's never anything positive on the news.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, and you know, and it's the same thing like with most people. If you have a job, you hardly ever get that like attaboy, good job or whatever. But if you make a mistake, that's when people come to you. It's like the focus is always on the negative aspect. You know, there could be like 99% 9, you know, like 0.9%, like like all good basically, and then that 0.1% bad, that's what we're going to talk about, you know. And I hate that that's the tendency. That's where we lean all the time.
Yeah, we
make a mistake on our TCP reports.
Yeah.
We're using the new cover sheet, you know.
No, that's true though. But I just wanted to say that it's really true. Like if you're saying something negative about somebody, it gets so much attention. Like
it does.
And the algorithms now on social media, they are open about that. They reward controversy, which is why anytime we mention Ukraine, by the way, like on the Cosmos TikTok, it gets flooded by the Russians, and they all are saying horrible things. And I leave it up like a good hour because it brings in so many more people, because the algorithm is triggering that in a positive way. Then after about an hour, when we get as many views as I think is worth it, I delete all of the Russian trolls. So then I'm like, thank you. You just brought in 100 more people. Thank you. But the reason why I love having Russian minions do my Ukrainian bidding, it's really brilliant. But anyways, but yeah, it rewards controversy as well. So that's a way that I'm leveraging it in a positive way. But think of all the negative things. You say something nice about someone and people tune out. They don't want to hear it. I feel like people don't want there to be peace and harmony. Maybe it's just not as sexy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you know, I don't know. Like a lot of people, there seems to be a lot of people that thrive on drama and that excites people. But what you were just referring to, yeah, for those of you that know Kate Bonahum, her and I had a whole discussion about this, because I caught something where there was some talk that basically posts that were occurring on Facebook, that if there was a lot of like hatred happening against those posts, that it triggers them to be more visible in Facebook's algorithm.
Yes.
And we talked about having this test base for one of her at the time when she was doing her Thirsty Thursday streams. I never followed through with it because I felt like I would get some hate back at me. But our idea was to try to get as many people as possible to only just angry react the post frequently, like just to see if it has like a positive impact on her visibility.
Somebody's asking that right now. Somebody's saying, should we press the angry button?
She was willing to go through that process. She was like, yeah, do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, like as soon as somebody's being combative or is angry about something, the algorithms reward it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and that's kind of messed up. That's how that works. But we never did test it. We didn't test that theory. But
I feel like testing it. I feel like asking our audience to all angry emoji right now.
we should do it for this.
Should we do it? I feel like we should do it.
Like,
just on this stream. Okay, on this stream. Okay, everybody watching right now, instead of pressing the heart or the like button on the main stream here, just press the angry button and let's see. It's worth a try, right?
I think Bethy's already having an adverse reaction. She's like, I can't do it. Basically, she's like crying on the stream.
Emotional. It's emotionally challenging. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. said Facebook changed it. Now too many angry faces. They come check for community standards. Abort. Reverse course.
Abort mission.
Abort mission. Please, everybody. If you did the angry thing, could you please reverse it too? You see, and that's another thing. The algorithms, they move those goalposts all the time. But anyways, Manny, do you want to weigh in this like negativity bringing attention? Because I know you've got things to say about that.
I can't. I'm too angry right now. No.
Damn it, Manny Zamora.
No. I think part of it, it's a weird aspect of human nature that I think some of us, not me, of course, but there are people who get, they get satisfaction, from other people's misery. A bit of what do the Germans call it, Schadenfreude, where they take pleasure in.
Repeat that German phrase.
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude. Thank you.
He's German. David's German, so he's.
I am German, but my German is so bad.
I thought he was going to correct us.
That's not. No, I mean, but I just wanted to hear it again, because it's the last part I recognize as fear, but I don't recognize the first part of the word.
Schadenfreude. Yeah. So so that there's part of the, people who all the gossip shows and all, and I'll admit, I used to watch them just because I thought they were funny. But after a while, I'm like, man, these people are just just making stuff up about other people, for the most part. Or
are we sort of like earlier before we even went live, and I brought up the Jerry Springer show, kind of that sort of thing, and I think it took me maturing to a certain point. And feeling a certain because I was one of, like, I started watching Jerry Springer early on too, like probably a lot of us did, and a lot of shows really around that same time frame. I think Jerry Springer just sort of like I think the network TV learned things from Jerry Springer, and they realized, wow, this is amazing for ratings, and then shock TV, like talk shows. And that's really what it was. And a lot of, and there were so many shows that were based on the premise of trying to help people, but it really at its core, it wasn't about that. It was about highlighting a lot of drama and just shocking people, really. And but Jerry Springer was definitely by far the worst. And I got to the point where, like I was actually kind of like grossed out by it. And then sometime after Jerry Springer, then came a show like Dr. Phil. And the very beginning of Dr. Phil, I genuinely felt in my heart that guy was out here trying to help people. I really felt that. And I enjoyed the show, and it was something that I watched on almost a daily basis. And then slowly but surely, they started to sort of twist into that same pattern of it just becoming this shock TV. and I didn't feel like the show was about helping people at all towards the end, and I stopped watching it along the way too. And that was most of those talk shows during that time frame kind of went that direction. It was a real trend, and I think it's an ugly trend. I think most of those talk shows, like let's face it, even though apparently they're still playing, my mother was watching reruns of old Jerry Springer the other day because there's some network that's playing them. But if those shows were happening live now, I don't think they wouldn't work anymore. I think the climate of the world has changed. I think a lot of people would be disgusted by what's happening there, shaming people, and yeah, it wouldn't work
I think
anymore.
we're a little bit more of an enlightened culture in that regards, where we've done a lot
Yeah.
with positivity and trying to build people up and talk about bullying. Like there was a
Mhm.
lot of highlighting of bullying. So that's true. And also the news stuff. Like remember Hardball with Chris Matthews when that came out? That was kind of cutting edge because they were just people screaming at each other. Then Nancy Grace was there, and
Yeah.
it was a lot of like screaming and discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, people tune in for the fights, I guess, sometimes, but not as much. You're right. It's calmed
Yeah.
down. Now there's too much going on in the world. It's so depressing. People want to tune
And
out.
there's enough drama happening naturally in the world to where we don't need shows that are creating drama, right? Like
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
like
We already
there's
have.
yeah, there's plenty ugly things to focus on,
Mhm.
Yep.
Don Henley. I don't know if you remember the song Don Henley had back in the '80s, "Dirty Laundry," and that's what always reminded me of that. It's
Mhm.
people airing their dirty laundry for entertainment purposes.
Mhm.
And it's like, wow, that's kind of sad. That that you so want the attention
Yeah.
or seeking attention that you're willing to go on these programs and just bare your
Yeah.
your dirty undies for everybody to see, and it's like,
I mean, and I'm certain a lot of these networks are paying pretty well for people to do that as
oh
well.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
absolutely.
I know.
They're not-
I
they're
feel
not
like
doing
the
that
Jerry
for free,
Springer
yeah.
show did that for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Wow. Like I do have to say, like, one of the reasons I was really interested in meeting you, Manny, is I mean, I've enjoyed your presence in all the things, but then you were invited into more controversial conversations about human rights essentially, and I like your nature. I like your nature. I share almost an identical perspective with you, and I have not heard a word come out of your mouth in any show ever that I disagree with. I mean, I haven't.
Well,
I
thank
haven't.
you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said on the show about trans rights, I said,
Mhm.
my philosophy of life is very simple. It's live and let live.
Mhm.
I think everybody has the right to live as they see fit. As long as they're not hurting anybody, as long as they're not, doing anything illegal or
Yeah.
you know immoral or whatever by whatever definition you view morality. I, you know, Fair play to everybody. That's how I feel. I don't feel qualified to tell other people how to live their lives, and I don't want other people telling me
No.
how I should live my life. It's a mutual thing, and so
Exactly.
that's what I stand for. I mean, whether somebody wants to say, "Oh, well, you're woke" or whatever, that's fine. I take that as a compliment, not
Right.
an insult. Um,
It's just like, even like, again, another scenario where we feel obligated to put a label on something, like, all right,
exactly,
you are
exactly.
woke. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what we're
like
going to refer to this as.
yeah,
It's good.
and I'm like, well, so what?
I
Just,
call it,
yeah,
I
slap
call
another
it,
label on me.
I
That's fine.
personally just call it you being a decent freaking human being,
Exactly, exactly. That's and it's like I said, people seem to have forgotten. I mean, I don't know how many times it was drilled into my head. If you can't say anything nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. And I'm like, okay. So that's, I kind of grew up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And now it seems to be the opposite. Like, the nastier you get, so much
but
better or whatever.
it's
And I'm
actually
like,
now, but
why?
it's interesting that you specifically brought that up, because we do know the generation that raised us were probably like they probably were not as accepting like of a lot of,
Oh,
like they were a
yeah.
lot more
Oh, yeah.
closed-minded, and
Yeah.
and so the fact that they taught us that if you can't say nothing, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. That's very
Well,
interesting.
it's also the generation that said, do as I do, not as I say.
You know
So,
what?
or do as
And
I
maybe
say, not as I do. So
maybe
yeah,
maybe at their
like a
at the
little bit of
core,
hypocrisy there.
maybe at the core of that, they wanted us to be better than them.
I think
And that,
so. I think they
yeah,
wanted
and
us.
that
I think they,
that would
they
be a
kind of
very
understood that. Yeah.
that would be a very pleasant way to look at that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Have a-
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
Nice.
So we have so Tara just walked in, and David, one of your titles that Sandy informed me of is that you're one of Tara's top 3. So
Now I just got demoted from last night.
Oh
because
no, did I say something? Oh no,
I just got demoted because
Uh-oh.
hold on, let me think of the phrasing that
Tara's
Tara
right here.
used.
She's watching you.
As far as Tara's
Hey,
friends go,
fellas.
here's what she referred to me as last night, and I had to inform her that I didn't really care for her terminology choice, because I didn't think it really portrayed what she thought it portrayed.
Okay.
But she said, as far as her friends go, I was a solid number 2.
Wait, I'm confused.
And as an adult,
What does that mean?
a solid number 2, I'm just thinking, like, that it sounds like you're talking about a poop. It sounds like you're talking about a poop. That's
what
all
I was
I'm
thinking,
saying,
like-
Okay, yeah, that's hilarious. And we want to greet Tara here, and also we're laughing because said, my Nana said, if you can't say anything nice, but also her Nana said, I'll give you a reason to cry.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there was some. It's like what David said.
We
Maybe there
got
was
some mixed messages.
mixed messages here.
It was, I think maybe they struggled a lot, but maybe ultimately they wanted us to be better than them, and gosh darn it, we tried. We have
Gosh
been
darn
trying.
it, people like us. Gosh darn it, people.
Son of
like
a biscuit eater.
Son of a he taught me that backstage. We were talking about this, is that how the
So-
best shows all happen behind the scenes. I mean, Tom always talks about it. Rory, me, and Manny go crazy when we're off air. And then these two were doing it. They just met each other and they're like being so enchanting. And I'm like, stop being enchanting. Stop being charismatic. Save it
We're
for
like,
the live audience.
Okay.
There was some disharmony backstage.
All the, unfortunately, I'm sorry guys, but like all the best stuff happened before we ever hit the live.
Yeah, like it was way better
Nobody
than
will
what
ever
we're
see that.
presenting right now.
Lost footage. Sorry.
It's all lost footage. Okay, well but before we, here's the thing. I want to introduce you guys a little bit too, because first of all, you're both musicians. So David, I don't know if you want to, if I'm going to play a song of Manny's or some of Manny's stuff. Do you want to play a live one of your songs afterwards?
Yeah, you know what? I will. Sure.
Okay, so let's listen to, so I want to show you the diversity of Manny. Okay, this is what's so cool. And yes, we're greeting our live audience and the replay squad. We have so many people in here right now. I can't get to everyone's comments. They're coming in too fast, guys. But I knew this was going to be a big, like the bout of the century. Like you have David meeting Manny. It's like so cool. Okay, so let's play. Here's the thing, Manny, give us an introduction about how long you've been making and composing music.
Actually, not very long.
Right. That's what you're talking about.
Probably like less than a month. I have this program called GarageBand on my Mac here, my laptop, and I little cameo from my dog.
Oh yeah.
Poppers.
So
Amazing.
I never really played around with it, and I thought, I'm gonna see what I can do with this, So it has all these pre-built loops and everything. So I started putting things together, and it's like, oh, this sounds bad, And after a while, I just like, oh, okay, well now I understand, and so I started creating these little tunes. And in fact, going back to Dennis, he wanted a theme for one of his shows, so I did a few, which he didn't wind up using, which is fine. And then I thought, well, maybe can I do something longer. So I started doing some longer things. And after a while, I had like all these tunes. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to create a SoundCloud account and just kind of throw them up there just for fun. And then I sent one to Renee, and she was like, "Oh, this is so good!" Yeah, and
that was literally verbatim what happened, even with my hands. It's uncanny.
With the hands,
I literally did that.
First, she did this.
First I did this, and then I did this. Jazz hands.
Yeah, I was about to say jazz hands.
Jazz hands. And they're like Manny Zamora,
which I used to mistakenly refer to as Broadway fingers until my mother of all people was like, "That's not what it's called."
Broadway fingers might be something different.
I don't. It could be. I don't know.
I feel like that's a euphemism for something, but anyway.
Maybe.
Broadway fingers.
Broadway fingers.
Okay, but let me show you guys.
Keep your Broadway fingers out of my.
Okay, so wait. So this is one of the first ones that he sent. I want to show you guys the diversity. Everyone's going to be appalled right now. So, okay, so and then I built like a little thing for a segment around it. But listen to the song. This is one of the first ones I heard by Manny Zamora. So, okay, so that's by Manuel Zamora. You can find them at SoundCloud, but hold on now.
I've been hearing that because you've been running.
And that's Manny.
That clip's been running, and I didn't know.
You didn't know that was Manny. Yeah, I have to add a little. I gotta add a thing in there.
Yeah.
But then, like on my birthday, he sends me this one, and I want to show you the contrast. Habeas corpus.
I love this.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
So good though.
I dig it.
Isn't that the coolest? Like Jamie Bennett is gonna love it. Jamie's not here today, but she loves that type of music.
I love Jamie's taste in music. Her intro outro situation. Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah. So like Manny, how can a musician be that diverse? Even myself, I've never been that diverse in my life.
I honestly, I have no idea. But well, the whole thing was, you kept saying that you were in a punk band and all this stuff, and I thought, and your birthday was coming up. I thought, I'm gonna do something punkish on this.
Yes.
See if I can do something punkish on this program. A little bit of Rammstein, sort of influence. All it needs is, it's a German, and so I created this thing, and it just it was really, and I thought, wow, this is really loud and aggressive. Perfect.
It's very loud and aggressive. I love it.
Can you send me that whole thing? Like I want the whole thing. I want to have it because I would.
Yeah. Do you want to send it to him, or
I can either send it to him or you can or whatever.
I mean, either one. You don't have to right now, but I'm just.
I will.
I would love to have the whole thing.
Send it to him.
I'll send it to you. Yeah, and also anybody can go to, if you go to SoundCloud and you look for Manuel Zamora, his records will come up, and I think I have a link in there as well. But like you see, and honestly, like my favorite songs of his are on SoundCloud. Like we haven't even played my favorite songs. Like Arise is one of my favorites, but there's just so many great ones, and he has two records, right?
Yeah, there's 2 playlists.
Okay.
Nobody should ever check out my SoundCloud. It is like from nothing. There's nothing on there that is within the last 15 years. I don't think.
Okay, but you are going to play.
I'm going to check it out now.
Yeah, now we're going to go and hunt it down. But David's going to play a live song or two so that we can hear him live. Please,
we want to hear him.
Manny's never even had the David experience before, so I think you're going to be.
I unfortunately don't have any originals that I will probably ever perform live. At least not yet. I will hit my favorite thing to cover. I'll do that.
Okay, awesome. You're in for a treat, Manny.
I'm so not warmed up. I wasn't so, you know, I'm sorry if my voice goes a little some kind of direction, but it's fine. We can do it. It's all right.
Oh, you're good. Okay, somebody's asking for a link to Manny's SoundCloud. I think I have it already on my notepad here. Let me see if I can. Dang it, it's not. Okay. It's all right, guys. I'll add it right after the show.
Yeah, we can throw in a link later.
Yep.
Be fine.
Okay,
That's
David William Myers. Here we go.
They say, oh my God, I see the way you shine. And take your hand, my dear, and place them both in mine. You know you stopped me dead while I was passing by. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. And I see you every time. No, I like your style. And you make me wanna cry. Now I beg to see you dance just one more time. So I say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh. I've never seen anybody do the things you do before. And they say, move for me, move for me, move for me, yeah. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again. I said, oh my God, I see you walking by. And take my hands, my dear, and look me in my eyes. Just like a monkey, I've been dancing my whole life. And you just beg to see me dance just one more time. I see you every time. No, I like your style. And you make me wanna cry. Now I beg to see you dance just one more time. So I say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh. I've never seen anybody do the things you do before. And they say, move for me, move for me, move for me, yeah. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again. All again, all again. They say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh. Never seen anybody do the things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me, yeah. And when you're done, I'll make you do it all again.
Wow, gorgeous! I never heard that song sung like that before. That was beautiful.
He's the only one, you know, I knew David before I had ever stopped in at one of his shows. I think he goes on quite late usually.
Yeah.
And I stopped in once and I just wasn't prepared because I've never seen anyone do what he does. He rides a different sort of vibration. I don't even know how to describe him. I was trying to describe him to Manny and I'm like, kind of like Tom York in a way. God bless you. But I don't know, David, like, how do you tap into that emotional, soulful place with that beautiful voice like that?
I just had to find a way that was the most comfortable for me to sing, and then I started playing around with staying mostly in falsetto, and then also, you know, and it's really hard for me to ever call myself a musician. I consider myself a hobby. I just music is a hobby for me, because I don't put in the time like other people do. Like my piano playing is I'm just mashing chords. Most of my guitar playing, I'm just banging out some chords. I don't put in a lot of practice, but between playing with reverb and having piano chords that I keep the sustain on the entire time to just create, I'd try to have it sound as ghostly as possible. And when I found that, I was like, this works for me. I can do something with this. And I've stuck with that pattern ever since. And so like most songs, when I look up a song, I approach them. I'm like, how can I do this in that style? But that being said, I still, I started playing guitar. You know, I'm 41 years old. I started playing guitar when I was in my early teens, and during those years, you know, I'm like power chords all the way, like hard rock riffs. I was a grunge kid during those years, and so there is a lot of like that style that is still left in me too. So I do venture outside of what I did right there sometimes, but
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because both of you guys come off as so humble. Neither one of you is like an arrogant asshole, and yet you're both or I shouldn't say and yet. I do think that the more talented someone is, the more humble they tend to be, actually. And I think
No,
there's some
I
research on
hide it
that
really
too.
well though.
No, you're like you're the talk of the town, the toast of the town, both of you
We're
guys.
the talk of the town over
The
here.
talk of the town. That's why
We're
it's
talking.
talk.
We're
Wow.
talking over here. We're
Be-
talking.
being my first experience on Talk of the Town,
Yes.
is TAWK, is that an actual word, or is that's just something that you came up with?
Was that MM or Sandy?
Mhm.
Somebody tell me that in the thing. Yeah, we decided to do something cute. We were looking for titles for this for like a good week and a half, and we just kept bouncing titles, bouncing titles, and we just ended up with this. But it could be a play on that, and also the W.
It's like coffee talk.
It's like coffee talk a little bit. MM or
Talk about
Sandy will
yourselves.
explain it. Yeah, talk amongst yourself.
Rhode Island. It's neither a road nor an island.
Discuss. Yeah, I love the discuss part. Yeah, but I wanted to talk a little bit about AI as well, because that's what David was talking to Dennis about. And I do want to do a shout out to Tardon Media, all of the conversations with Pi that are up there. So if you go to YouTube and you go to Tardon Media, which has all these great shows on there, but some of the more recent ones would be about artificial intelligence. Dennis is having these conversations with Pi, which is a chat box. So David has there's an intersection here with Dave.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh no.
Oh no.
Artificial intelligence. He was talking, I did 2 shows about artificial intelligence on Outside the Lines. So I was like, guys, you guys have to talk with each other about artificial intelligence.
My intersect with AI, and I'm gonna preface this with all of this happened quite a number of years ago for me. My ambitions have changed. I have not been keeping up. I've been just as amazed and astounded by the recent just sudden explosion of all these things that AI can do suddenly and what it is even. But you know, probably late 90s, early 2000s. I've been writing code since I was like basically 11 years old. I don't so much lately, but my early years, and I did it all just for fun. I hung out in very early internet communities back when we had to dial into the internet. The oldest of old school IRC chats, and all of us, we just wrote code to impress our buddies on those platforms, and that's what we did. And some of what we were doing is like we learned programming languages just so we could make bots that could come hang out in our chat and allow us to play games with each other, because the bots would run the games. One of my first coding projects, or not, like it wasn't one of my first, but it was somewhere early on, was I made an Uno game that worked in a very old chat system, and the bot came in and dealt the Uno cards to everybody. They got them privately and in their messages, their private messages. And we did that. But all that just like escalated and escalated, to the point where I met a friend somewhere along the way, and we got really interested. We got interested in artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence isn't a new concept. Like even before there were Windows computers, there were people that were designing programs that were trying to like be like logic processes and things like that. And there was also weird things that applied to today's standards. But even in the 90s, there were people that there was a focus on people that were animation designers or worked in like early Adobe plugins and things like that, were doing things that were referred to as artificial life. And one of the earliest things that I remember just being really impressed by was, and this was a long time ago, so it wasn't presented in like a 3D format or anything. It was this square box screen that you would look at it, and there was a flock of birds on there, and somebody wrote code that would have these birds behave in a migration pattern and fly across the screen in a certain way. And so, but there was just something so beautiful about watching that, because they behaved in a way that nobody could have like just made like pre-made. They couldn't have just pre-made that as an animation. You got to witness these things follow some sort of migration pattern based on code that somebody wrote that had a lot of variables in it that told these birds how to behave on screen. And I'm presuming that each individual bird out of the thousands that were on the screen, probably they all had their own code, but they probably all followed some larger process too. And that sparked a lot of interest in things like that. And then doing the chat bots, I was also like, how can we have this thing respond to us like in our chat, but behave? I did this so early on in the chats. There weren't Google at the time. Google didn't even exist. Google was non-existent during this time frame. But we were already in chat. We already were designing bots that were hanging out with us and doing some sort of automation and like pulling in search queries from whatever the popular searches were at the time, or playing games, most of it silly stuff like spin the bottle or some silly stuff that people could query the bot with some command or whatever. And it was just a fun toy. But me and a number of friends, but specifically one friend, we got specifically interested in like, all right, well, how can we have this thing break down our sentences a little bit better and figure out how, like, what we're saying and respond in accordance a little bit more. And early on, it was, our imagination wasn't, processing was a lot more limited. Resources were a lot more limited. We were thinking in the most basic ways. I was looking at the most basic sentence structures, and it required people to not speak in slang. And we had a wiki website that we built that at this time Google had started, and Google had people that were part of Google were interested in our wiki. Like they were on our content at the time. It doesn't even exist now on the internet. I've tried to find it, like it's gone there. I don't even think there's any archives of it anywhere, which is really disappointing. I didn't think about it again until years later. But we were what we did. Some of it was really basic. It was like I had entire posts on the wiki that were just me taking sort of like basic human sentences that you would say and figuring out like how would a computer work on that, like what words do you exchange to create a certain equation so that a computer program can say like, okay, based on this, like I'll just give the most crude example. Like if I say this is this, right? I mean, that's the most simple equation. That's like a tiny, like that's like literally this equals this, right? So that's a pretty easy computer breakdown right there. We got pretty elaborate on that. We were breaking down a little bit more complicated sentences and trying to figure out how a computer might respond to that. And but for the most part at the time, it wasn't so much the codes that we did contribute to the wiki, because there were excerpts of a lot of code that we wrote that were for in various different programming languages. But it was mostly just to like we would just take like a bunch of random responses and basically just randomly have the computer respond with one of those, so it just felt a little bit more lifelike. It didn't have like, it wasn't AI in the sense of having this like AI thought process of a bunch of processes working together with each other. It was more just a program that was like, okay, so this is probably what this sentence means, and we'll just have one of these sort of randomized responses, and we tried to do it as intelligently as we could so that it felt fairly natural. And so we ended up with bots that you could kind of have some conversations with, some very limited. And this was a lot of years ago, but the most exciting thing was for me was the fact that early Google actually paid attention to our wiki. And when I finally adopted having a cell phone and being able to talk to my phone and ask it for something, like I thought to myself, I was like, what if like we had some small part in like paving the way for some of that technology. And that's and I'm pretty certain that this happened for AI technology in general, because a lot of the best development happens in what they call open source development communities, where programmers are developing out of passion, and they're freely sharing the work that they do for other people to build upon. And Google's really big about that. Most of what Google does, most of it, not all of it, but most of what Google does ends up being freely available for the public to build on. Like anybody can go download their source code for a lot of what they do. Almost every single web browser right now is based on Google's source code, to include Microsoft, which is really bizarre to me. The latest revision of the Edge browser is Edge Chromium. It's based on Google source code, because everybody finally realized they follow the standards better than anybody else. So when people design a website, they like the way Google displays it the best with their Chromium source code, their Chrome source code, basically. And so everybody's followed suit except for Safari. Apple's still holding out. But every other web browser, every other major web browser uses Google code.
So why are you not?
That was a lot. I'm sorry. I just
No.
went on.
No, I want to no, but I want to know this, and I want to ask this. Like, so why are you not doing software engineering full time? If you're still passionate about it, that is.
For me, it was in my younger years, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and I never pursued any further like certification or anything like that. Programming was something that I did because I enjoyed it. And like a lot of things that I enjoy, I don't even want to think about ever doing them as a job, because it feels like it sucks the joy out of it once you start doing it professionally. Though I will say that the job that I currently work in, while it is not a programming position, part of the reason that I got promotions is because I came in there at a ground level position, saw that there was a lot of work being done by people that was taking hours every day, that I instantly, when I went in there, I realized I can literally write some code that will automate this. And I did that, and it saved a bunch of time. And then the people that were running the show that were really excited, obviously, because I was saving hours every day, hours of work. And that kind of helped me gain a little traction where I was at. So that's one of the reasons why I've been really intent on being where I'm at, because it's the first job I've ever had that allowed me to utilize those skills. But yeah.
Cool.
I never finished high school. Even after I dropped out of high school, that's probably when I did my best coding work. Like I wrote so many, and most of it is stuff that nobody would care about. It was stuff that was like my nerdiest of friends were like, just creating weird hacks, like where we were ripping information from other websites and reworking it for some completely different service, like and just automating processes like that. My probably my expertise was before things were as so interconnected. My expertise was finding a way to take this protocol, like either a chat protocol or email or some other protocol that was not related to the web, and making those things work together by having, I would design a program that would take things from this platform and pull it over here, and this things from, like I do that sort of thing. That was probably like my best work right there.
Right. That's interesting. Like I worked with startups in Georgia for about 3.5 years through the Kauffman Foundation. I was a startup mentor doing startup law. So I was around all of these coders. I went to all the hackathons, right there. Georgia Tech has all these hackathons, and now there's a Google Center there. And it's really cool to be around people like David. So I've been around a lot of people like David, and they're very passionate, and they have new ideas, and they're making the world a much better place. Like these chatbots, we've talked about it a lot because Manny also produces on the shows with Dennis, but Dennis has been having these conversations with Chatbot Pi. And it's so cool because someone like David will walk in there and he sees it from the nuts and bolts of like the software side of it. Whereas I do it and I'm just looking at maybe the emotional or the psychological. But I think that's very cool. I mean, Manny and I talked a lot about that. And then Manny's intersection too with art. Manny is a visual artist. He's also a writer. He's also a musician. He's a lot of different things. But he uses digital art. And I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit. I know we talked about it in another show, Manny, but like the AI and how it's being used in visual art and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I know there are people, artists, professional artists, who are like just horrified by the advent of AI. But I always embrace new technology. It's like, and I find it fascinating. I mean, I don't use it myself because I can generate my own art if I want to. But as sort of, I don't know, thought experiments, or just somebody who maybe doesn't have a natural talent for art, it's a way of them to be creative, and I think there's something also to be said about us humans, is that we do have a drive to be creative. We do want to create things. But some people are just limited. I always run into people who say, "Oh, well, I really admire you. You can draw. I can't even draw a straight line." I'm like, "Well, neither can I." That's why I have rulers. But the point being that they don't believe themselves to be creative because they think they don't have the skill set necessary. But that's not it. I mean, creativity comes in so many different varieties, and different things, like David can play, even though he kind of downplays it, he can play the piano, he can play the guitar, sings, he does all these things that I can't, well, I don't say can't, but things that I don't do, things that would take me years to learn. You
Yeah.
know, I try to learn how to play the guitar and just never got the hang of it. You know, and or the piano and all those things. So I envy him a little bit on that. You know, and but
I
but
already
that's
envy you for your retention, because I've already seen you on other shows where I'm like, where is he pulling all this information? Like,
well, I used to be called the Vault once upon a time.
The Vault.
Uh,
That seems like an appropriate nickname.
but but no, and yeah. So you know, like I said, everybody has a talent for something, even if they're not aware of it. You know,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunately sometimes people aren't given the space or the opportunity to follow their talent. You know, for whatever reasons, like, well, you know, you got to get a real job. You got to get, you know,
Yeah.
there's always that pressure of, you know, having to provide for somebody or having to provide for yourself and things like
Mhm.
that. You know, and unfortunately, in our society, hello, Julie, in our society,
Hi, Julie.
art is seen as something. It's a hobby. You know, it's not a real job. It's not something that, you know, it's viewed as something, you know, kind of almost trivial.
Yeah.
And yet art is what, you know, design is what gets buildings built. You know, it's
Right.
what get, you know, cars designed. It's what get even things like movies. You know,
I
somebody
think
has to,
I think it's that you know, like people, and I know it comes from a place of caring for a lot of people. Like if you know, if you have friends or loved ones that are focused on art, but they haven't made it yet, and then unfortunately there are people that kind of kill their spirit. But I think they do it from a good place, because the industry, like making it in any sort of creative field,
Mhm.
it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot
Oh,
for sure. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely, yeah.
it's like, and there's no surefire way in. It's like being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know, doing questionable things behind dumpsters. I don't probably. I'm not sure. Like,
Oh, you're
like
bringing back memories. Stop it.
sorry, I didn't mean to trigger your trauma. Sorry about that.
Questionable things behind dumpsters.
I remember that dumpster fondly. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just unfortunate that I didn't have the clout that you thought I did. Like, here's a Subway sandwich, guy. Enjoy it. That's all I got. This is the last stamp on my Subway card.
There you go. There you go. That's it. That's all I can do for you. But
like some of what you were touching on. So, you know, if we're, you know, like it's I wasn't prepared enough. Like I could probably talk on AI technology a lot more if I actually sort of spent a little bit more time, like sort of preparing myself. But the one thing that I'm just, I don't know what innovation happened as of most recent that just suddenly caused this massive explosion, because I haven't been keeping up. Like I don't know the latest programming trends or anything like that. Like I haven't been doing any of that, and it's a field that you can fall behind in really quick. But it's obvious that some massive innovation just sparked this explosion in AI technology suddenly, and not just Chat GPT, but all these services are making use of it. You know, you can have something, just you can have software writing a song for you, writing out entire essay. You can literally have it write a book for you, design any graphic. If you know how to prompt it, it will design it for you. It can
right, yeah.
And there's services that are catered towards, like, if you want a website and you want it to look a certain way and provide a certain service, it'll design the code for your website. Like, and it's insane. And I've taken such an interest in it lately that because of cookies and tracking, everything that comes across my feed now is like, I get so much AI content every day, and I'm like, I had no idea, like, where did this explosion happen? But actually what I wanted to touch on, based on some of what you said just a little while ago, is, all right, so in music, for instance, and we've all heard this, like, we all know the people that talk about, like, oh, this auto-tune stuff, that's just cheating, music's lost its soul and that sort of thing. People, they're not even creative. But see, like, I share a different perspective. I think what happens with innovation is there's always going to be people, the people that are truly ambitious and want to do as much with something as they possibly can. They will take these innovations and every bit of effort that they don't have to spend on, for instance, making their voice perfectly in tune or whatever, they will put that effort somewhere else, and then you end up with something else that's mind-blowing. So the creativity is still there, it just happens in a different way. And so the people that use these new tools in the best way, that's what I'm looking out for, because, like, holy shit, what are they going to come up with? You know, it's going to be something amazing. I don't downplay any of that. I don't think it's cheating. I think, you know, I mean, sure, are there some people now that can just sing that couldn't sing before, maybe because of some technology? Sure, yeah, there is. But also, you know what? It gives more people an opportunity. Now the people that can sing, they get to do it naturally, and then, I don't know, like, people, I don't know, to me, I don't think it's cheating. I think it's an opportunity for things to progress, and even for art. I think art, just like technology, I think art deserves to have a certain amount of progression over time, you know, and it's opportunity. And AI even gives opportunity for art to progress. With now, you can have a program draw things for you if you prompt it accordingly.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, you know, I've seen things like there's Midjourney. It's probably one of the leading AI art generators. But Adobe's coming out with their own program. I think they call it Firefly.
I think Microsoft's already done something as well. I think they've already incorporated it into their software. Yeah.
So it's you know, it's becoming a thing.
It is.
And
it's not going away, is what I can already see. It's not going away.
It's not going to go away. No. And you know, it's like anything else. You know, and then we talked about this on in a previous show with Renee. Every new technology, every new invention, every new thing that comes along is always seen as a threat to what came before. You know, compact discs were a threat to vinyl records. Cassettes were a threat to 8-tracks.
I'm a little bit afraid. I'm honestly a little bit afraid of change, you know, myself. It's hard, you know, like
it's hard. It's very hard. You know, but after a while, I mean, either I'm 65 years old. And so I've seen a lot of change over the years, you know. Yeah. And you know, something new comes out, you know. My first television, or the first television we ever had in the house, was a black and white, those big console TVs. And so getting a color TV was revolutionary. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, there's color out in the world, you know?
Right.
And you know, the same thing, like I said, you know, I used to buy vinyl records, and then 8-tracks came out, so I bought 8-tracks, and then cassettes came out, like, you know, and now it's compact discs, and now those are going away, and now it's all streaming.
Nobody even has CDs anymore.
Nobody has CDs anymore. I have
like whatever, you know, it's like you get to the point after a while where, like, whatever comes out next, you know, like you know what, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
like I'm just
good.
like,
I think I want to stop here. You know,
I actually I seriously appreciated it when it went to streaming, because I'm like, I mean, this seems like a sustainable format, like, probably.
Yeah. Well, the only thing about streaming is, you know, if your internet goes down,
indeed,
there goes your stream. You know, And so that's the thing about having
That's the
you know,
innovation that we all really need. We all across the world, we need to have internet that never goes out, basically.
there you go.
That's what really needs to happen.
Permanent.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because I actually haven't toyed with the Chat GPT like too much, but it's dependent on internet too, I presume, because
Oh
I think
yeah.
I think it's tapping into a bunch of servers that are on a what they call a like we used to refer to it as cluster computing, where there's a bunch of
Well, that's what the
computers.
cloud is.
Yeah,
That's
a cloud essentially. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a bunch of networked together servers that are
Right, exactly.
multiple processes to make so much happen really quick. Yeah.
Well, I think the next step is going to be I it just almost seems inevitable that the next step is going to be freestanding AI or free roaming AI,
Like
robots and whatever.
yeah, and then like like I've already seen sort of like prototypes of such things. Like
Yeah.
people are already on it, and that's
But
it's amazing.
I think now that I think about it, and well, I've thought about this before, that's the thing about a lot of people kind of make fun of science fiction and people who watch science
I
fiction.
love that
Or,
you're
"Oh,
touching on this. This is like
you're nerds, or and it's like it's all make believe nonsense. And yet, reading science fiction, I know as a kid I read a lot of science fiction. I mean, I read all the classics. I read Verne and H.G. Wells, and then later on, Asimov and Ray Bradbury and all those guys. And of course, I'm a big Star Trek fan, as anybody knows. And all those things kind of prepared me for our present.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like the Enterprise had the computer that talked back to you and gave you information. Had that voice and everything. Well, now we have Siri.
Yeah. Exactly.
And chat, those chat bots like Pi and Chat GPT and things like that. That's just an extension of that in a way. We're having a conversation with a computer, and the voice is a lot less. It's more natural sounding, and who knows? Sooner or later, it's going to be integrated into an actual, where instead of having to use a keyboard or whatever. That's one of the best scenes in Star Trek 4, Star Trek 4, where Scotty is, it's an old Mac, one of the old Macintoshes, and he's trying to talk to it, and the guy's like, just use the mouse, and he picks up the mouse and uses it like a microphone. He's talking to the computer, and he's like, no, just use the keyboard.
Oh, is that the one where they traveled in time?
Yeah,
okay,
to save the whales and all that. Yeah, and I thought about that scene, and I thought, in the future, which now is it's getting closer and closer. We're not going to have to use keyboards. We're not going to have to use, we can just direct input.
Yeah.
And Apple just came out with their Vision goggles that could almost do that. They can use your eyes to open, apps and stuff. And it's like, oh, there you go. You look at what was that movie, Minority Report, with Tom Cruise, where they're using hand gestures.
Like it's almost like we're working towards, like as of right now, a computer and a technology is a thing that you have to do something to use. It's almost like we're trying to make it just sort of be integrated into just what we're already doing, like to where there's like no effort. It's just a part of what you're doing. Like if you had the virtual reality glasses and they were just showing you the things that you would need to see and the information that you want as you're traveling through your daily day doing whatever it is you do. But I specifically like that you went back to science fiction, because like even as I was working today, like thinking about us coming on and talking about AI, like I was thinking about like how do we get to this point? And science fiction is a lot of the reason that we end up here. And because I mean, one, those fantasies do drive the innovation, because a lot of the people that are working on this, they're the same nerds that love that stuff. They love the science fiction,
Exactly.
but in
Exactly.
addition to that, the people that are writing science fiction content, the same process that goes into inventing and creating innovations goes into their writing process, where they're imagining like what type of technologies would be handy in the future, like what type of things would make life easier. You know, it's so it's the same process, even though they're like the writers are just writing about it, but it's the same thought process that gets them there,
Hmm.
that inventors have when they're like, okay, what problems do we have that we would like to solve? Like, what would be really cool if we made it easier? You know what I mean? So I think it's just a natural for technology to follow science fiction
Hmm.
always. Like it's always, those innovations are always going to follow right in line with science fiction. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love that it works that way, because we've all the science fiction that we've seen. There's a lot in store for us in the future, like for sure.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't always get it right, obviously,
Yeah, no, you know,
but
Judgment Day, you would probably, you know, like it wouldn't be great, you know.
we don't. There's things,
I feel like though the science fiction of Judgment Day also is going to cause enough concern with like AIs being put into you know, like animate, like robotic situations or whatever, to where there will be more care put into like you know what I mean? Like, because people will be like, what if they did do that? You know?
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not do that. I mean, yeah, we know that was just a movie, but if you're actually going to do that, if you're going to, create a
Right.
mechanical version, whether it's a cyborg or whether it's a robot or whatever, let's really consider the ethical
Was it you
consequences of
that
this.
broke down the ethics of the programming? I forget what it all was, but it was, you know, it was something out of some reading, and I feel like you presented that on a past show, where it was like you know, something along the lines of like the first rule is like, do no harm to humans or something. I don't even, like, to be honest, I don't remember, but it was, I
Oh,
remember there was some sort of breakdown on a previous show about the AI that you were in.
yeah, that might have been Rory. He's
It's
kind of
possible. Yeah.
he's kind of wary about AI, but no, I always remember Isaac Asimov created the three laws of robotics,
Mm.
which is what you may be thinking of.
Hmm.
You know, robots cannot harm a human being or by inaction cause them to be harmed.
That's what it was. That's
Uh,
exactly what it was right
and
there.
there's
Yeah.
the other two rules that kind of go along with that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that certainly, for somebody to kind of think ahead and say, okay, let's make sure that this
Yeah.
technology doesn't turn on us.
We make it so
And
smart that ultimately the technology ends up deciding that people are the problem in the world, right? Yeah,
exactly,
that's what we want
exactly.
to
That's
avoid.
yeah.
Yeah, probably.
So right. And otherwise, we have an Ultron situation where the androids or the robots decide, humans are the problem here. Let's we wipe them out. Everything will be fine.
Hmm.
So or
You
the
know what we do? We need to do what we need to do. Here's what we need to do.
okay.
We need to program the AI to have some sort of addiction to something that only we can provide.
Ooh,
like literally sort of like almost like a substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
And it would not eradicate us because it would not be able to get what it wants, you know. I don't know.
Well,
That seems kind of dark. That seems pretty dark too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That's kind of dark. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that could be a science fiction story right there, you know. So
I think
there
we're
you go.
solving all these world problems on tonight's show. If only we can have certain people tap in, you know, like, and they can, like, you know, I hate Elon, but no, I don't hate Elon, but somebody like an Elon. No, I love Elon. I'm sure he's a lovely person. But anyway,
I would. Wouldn't it be amazing to have him on? Like, I mean, seriously though. Seriously.
Well, yeah, obviously, definitely.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. No, but yeah, it seems like you guys are solving problems. That's why I was like in the back, just like listening. And I love both, like having both angles of it too, of him, you know, of technology and art and all of that. And I also wanted to say, because I know we're getting late here, but I definitely want Manny to talk a little bit about being an author, because we have some links here where people can go and purchase these books. He's actually an author. So I said, Manny, we got to talk about this, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about your authorship?
Sure. I many years ago, I thought that I could maybe write a book or make a living as an author, as a writer. So I started writing a book, and it took me about 10 years to write this book. I just had to. It started off as a short story, and it just kind of went from there. And then that became the first chapter of this book. And so over the years, you know, I wrote and wrote and wrote until finally I had this book. But I didn't know what to do with it. You know, it's like, do I send it out to publishers? So I need to get an agent first, and blah blah. And then Amazon comes along, and now you can publish books without needing a publisher, without needing an editor, without needing all these people, you know, these middlemen. And I thought, well, finally. So I, you know, put it together and created a cover and published this book. And it's a kind of a dark fantasy adventure set way in the future. After it's also sort of post-apocalyptic. And the world has fallen into kind of a medieval state again. But now there's also wizards and sorcerers and what have you. There's magic as we.
You had David at Wizards.
You had it's
little headcock.
So it's post-apocalyptic, but we also were bringing like magic back into the. Yeah,
how cool is that? That sounds awesome.
I dig that. Yeah.
So I decided to write this book, and then a few years ago, I started dating this woman who unfortunately has passed away last year. But she wanted to write some children's books with me and have me illustrate them. And she was an illustrator herself. She's an artist herself. And so we wrote a series of books, and then said, well, now what do we do with them? So we created a website, and we got them published on Amazon. And so we have a bunch of children's books up there. I need to revise the website and put my book up there, and another book of hers that's more for grown-ups as well. And so yeah, it just kind of and I'm also writing, or I fancied myself a screenwriter as well. So I've written several screenplays.
And one of the screenplays has its own soundtrack.
Yes, I created a soundtrack.
How cool is that?
Did you also create the soundtrack to it?
Well, it's a Spotify playlist. I collected a bunch of songs that I felt fit the mood of the movie.
Yeah.
And kind of like what Tarantino does with his movies. He has all this incredible knowledge of all these songs, so he puts them together and creates these soundtracks. So I thought, well, I'm going to do the same thing,
Yeah.
So I wanted a certain mood, a certain style, and so I got. And the movie covers 3 different eras, and so there's music from 3 different time periods, and a lot of female artists that you probably never normally hear on the radio or whatever. And so I wanted to highlight them, like, you know, the Be Good Tanyas and Wade and Jenny's, Sarah Jarosz, you know, people like that. So yeah, so anyway,
So you can buy,
I don't know
like,
what
people
else I
can
can.
buy those. Well, yeah, but people can buy those, and so like the
Oh,
links are up there,
yeah,
and
so the
they
links,
can, yeah.
yeah. So if you know, if you were into epic fantasy or just want to read a kind of interesting real book, or you have friends that have children that might be interested in one of our
The
children's
children's
books,
books, yeah.
or you have children yourself that are young, or even whatever age, you know,
Right.
they make great gifts. You know, Christmas is just 6 months away,
I
or
love that.
birthdays, or
Well, it
whatever.
looks
You know.
like you might have made a sale. So Jonathan Duncan said, "It's precious that you both were able to bring the books to fruition, Manny XO. I wonder also if and how we can buy a copy of your
I
graphic
forgot.
novel."
Of
Yeah, your
course, I
graphic
forgot to
novel.
mention my novel, or not novel, but my comic book. I'm also writing, or wrote and illustrated. There's about 3 or 4 issues available. Well, I think 3 now, and you can find those on the website as well. There's a page dedicated just to that. I created my own sort of comic book company called Manzam Comics, and the character that I created, or well, me and my partner created, is called La Salvadora, and she's an animal rights activist. Her day job is as a veterinarian at this private animal shelter, and whenever there's an animal that is being threatened with exploitation or whatever, she becomes this heroine and saves the day. And in fact, I'm working on another issue right now, and that should be out in late August.
Are you're doing the illustrations for these as well?
Yeah, I'm doing everything. I wrote the script. I'm illustrating, coloring, lettering, the whole Megillah. That's Megillah, Renee.
That's the first time I've heard that. So now that's in my lexicon. I'm going to start saying Megillah.
The whole Megillah.
The whole Megillah, son of a Megillah.
Son of a Megillah.
We'll just see that. Yep. So
I'm
Jonathan,
introducing the new generation to all our old terms here.
He's training me much like an AI would be trained. So I'm his chatbot, and he's like telling me, say Megillah, say son of a biscuit eater. Okay, so Jonathan Duncan said he's going to go get those graphic novels after this, and that's at janellebean.com. The link we have up there.
Yep.
Go buy them, and then head on over to his SoundCloud as well. Now, here's the thing, guys. So Painting with Rory is off for tonight, but it's going to be on again next week. But tomorrow, you're going to get to see Manny again because he's playing Sergeant Havoc on the Big Monster Briefing Room.
Monster Briefing Room. That's right.
Yep. So that's 5 Central and 6 Eastern tomorrow. But Pan wanted us to just say, she said, Manny is also a great actor. And so, yeah, we did an improv on Pan's show, Up Close on the Mic. She has improv nights now on her new channel that she has. Yeah. And we're going to do another one coming up in about 12 days or so. We have a second scenario. We won't tell you what that scenario is. Pan just told us today what it is. But yeah, Manny's hilarious. He does impressions. He does improv comedy. He does all these characters. Like,
and really, I only do it because I want to see Renee go.
He gets me crazy the whole time.
I'm at a place right now where I'm like, I'm starting to wonder, is there like what does Manny not do? So let me
I want to play that game too.
Let me ask you a question, Manny.
Sure.
Are you a handyman? Like, do you fix things around the house?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, do you do that? Like, do you build stuff like with parts?
I've done that. Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a handyman.
He's probably he's probably an architect, literally.
He probably is.
Well, funny you say that. I was going to school to be an architect,
Are
but
you
I got
fucking
bored.
kidding me? Are you serious?
I need
Are you
this. You
serious?
know what I need, Manny, at right at this point, I need this little portion of your mustache to be a little bit longer, just so you could just be like, well, it's funny that you say that, and
Fun.
twist
You
your
can
mustache.
twirl it a little bit.
Twist-
I was a pirate at one time.
Jonathan Duncan says, very handy in the bedroom, apparently. Okay. This is getting a little racy. We're getting into
Whoa,
the
well,
X-rated.
I wasn't, for the record,
I haven't had any
I
complaints,
wasn't
you know
gonna
what I mean?
touch on that topic. I wasn't gonna ask about the bedroom life. Like I
David
wasn't
always
gonna,
keeps
you know.
it tasteful, right,
I-
David?
Keep
You
it
always keep
I'm
it.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm the most tasteful person that everybody knows, for sure. Yeah,
He's very
always,
tasteful. Now here's
always
the
above the line.
Duncan, stop.
This
Stop
is-
it.
There are
everything.
people that are laughing right now because they
Oh
know
my
that's not the
God.
case.
Have you guys?
Uh,
Here's the
and
thing about us being
I
on.
do-
Yes, sorry. Go on, Manny. No, I want to hear that.
No, well, David asked if I sang yesterday.
Yeah.
And I do a little bit. And if you'll permit me,
I would love this. I would love this.
do you want to hear a little something?
Hell yeah.
I mean, yes. Thank you.
I need a drink.
He's
And-
gonna
and-
come.
and it's tea. It's not anything.
It's gonna be like yesterday on It's
Cheers.
Casual. It's Casual when she sang that a cappella, and I will. You know, it was incredible. That's what's gonna happen right now.
Oh,
right.
Marisol. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
she was so good. That was so great.
What a talent.
I know. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, so
So,
now
all
it's
right.
Manny.
Now I built this up way too much, and everybody's going to be disappointed. So
Did you make yourself nervous in the process? You built it up so much where you're
Right.
like, I don't know if I
I
can
do that
it
to
now.
myself all the time.
I do
No.
it too. Oh my god. Like I
Mhm.
talked about it too much.
okay, all right.
Okay.
a little
All right.
a little Elton John for you.
Okay.
Spiders. I just had to throw that in there.
Spiders and snakes.
I
Spiders.
just had to throw
I
that in,
don't
just,
like
you know.
spiders and snakes.
We didn't cover them as much as I thought we were
Yeah,
going
yeah.
I
to.
We didn't
know.
talk about the spiders. Yeah, let's not talk about that. Okay.
Let's not
Little-
talk about the spiders.
A little Elton John for you. And I think, excuse me. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time till touchdown brings me round again to find I'm not the man they think I am at home. Oh no, no, no. I'm the Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out there alone. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a long, long time.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it,
And you did that a cappella. You just
Yeah, he
whipped
just-
it out a cappella.
he
like
just
that.
whipped it out.
I-
Man, he's always whipping it out.
I
on
tried to
these
sing
shows.
for some people
Excuse me
on
while I
Discord. Like
whip
somebody
this
was
out.
asking about a song, and I just tried to whip it out with like I had nothing to work off of.
Oh,
Like I was
no,
like
no, that
I know
was-
that was right, but
no.
like you just whipped that out a cappella, and you were like right on. You were on the
I
notes. That's
He
good.
was
Yeah.
right there. He was
I'm
right
more into like Sinatra and stuff like the Great American Songbook.
Yeah.
Oh, the shark bites with its teeth, babe, and he shows them pearly white, just a jackknife as old Mag Heath, babe, and he keeps it out of sight.
And see, I love when people that are currently doing something take that that era of music or just dip into the past and pull that vibe into what they're doing currently, you know,
Mhm.
even if it's just some background thing, you know, and like, man, that's so fun. Like, because what they're effectively doing when they do that is they've got the younger audience already, but then they're pulling other people in. They're pulling us older people in with some bit of nostalgia. And I'm like, yeah, all right, props, my friend. Good job. Awesome.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. And Jonathan Duncan said, Manny Zamora sings after midnight. New album title. That's the new SoundCloud, Manny.
That's it.
That's the new
I guess I'm
SoundCloud.
gonna have to. Yeah.
Now here's the thing, guys. I have one more question before we go. Did you guys like each other? Was this a fun hangout? Do you like each other?
Yeah, I mean, we already said before we went live that we were just gonna we hated each other
Yeah, we're just
before we hit the
pretending.
live button.
And
But
like as soon as
but
action,
soon as
we're
we're,
just
you
smiling.
you
I
you,
never
you
want to
did
see
the
this
little
guy
like
ever
and
again.
action, and then we got into character. We're like, okay, like Manny. I was like,
No,
like Manny.
seriously,
I
no.
gotta love him. I gotta love him.
It's all an
Character,
improv.
start.
It's all
That was
an
good.
It's all
improv.
improv. It's the magic of the internet. Magic
We
of
walk off stage and we want to strangle each other. We
Honestly,
get
I
crazy.
did. I loved it. It's been really
this was
fun
great.
talk.
This was awesome.
I'm so hyped up right now. You guys, it's gonna take me a couple hours to be able to go to sleep. Like
You should go live. You should go live and do a concert.
There we go. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
it'll take me a couple of hours after that. to go
Oh,
to
so
sleep.
then it
That's
just
the
keeps
pro-
pushing it back.
Yeah, that's the reason I
Yeah.
don't do really late night streams
Mhm.
because I once I get hyped up to that point, I have to have that wind down period. You know, like it.
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, and performers need that because we're all like, all the adrenaline
Yeah.
is flowing. So, David, for anyone who wants to join y'all on Discord, I know there's a big community over there. You guys have this whole universe, or I should say it's a cosmos. How do people join the Discord?
I can put a link. I can put a
Okay.
link in the chat right now. Let me give me a moment.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. I actually have Discord closed because I restarted my computer. But
See, they go in there and they do, so MM does these game nights in there. This is all like VIP stuff. It's not live. And so they do game nights, they do just hangouts almost every night. And then
Yeah.
there's different rooms, right, David? So like, are you going to put a link to the Discord generally, and then what, like, people can follow it?
I mean, if we're looking to have a general understanding of Discord, anybody at any given moment can design a Discord server to their own specifications, and it's basically a series. When you design your own Discord server, you pick what chat rooms essentially you want to have, and your chat rooms can be text-based chats where people just go in and do text. They can also just be informative chats that people can only read. And you can also have voice chats where people can come hang out and
video,
talk.
right?
And video's optional. Video's optional in those servers, like by default. But it's anybody, if you design your own Discord server, you get to pick how it's laid out. MM's Discord server blew my mind when I first saw it because I had previous Discord experience, and specifically most of what we have on the Cosmos Discord is not actually visible to the majority of people that join because it specifically she designed it initially as a resource for the Cosmos team, and she has a lot of resources laid out, and I was like this is a really impressive way to use this because I just hadn't seen anybody else to do that. And so I was excited about that. So I have learned a lot about what the potential is from MM Farewell. A lot. Really cool. But yeah, I will. I'm totally gonna pull a link.
Yeah, they spent weeks on it. There were weeks, and they were architecting this entire server on there. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure it out. But they're on there, and it's a way that the community is building these relationships. I mean, so many people. So for every hour that you don't see Cosmos airing live, there's actually hours and hours behind the scenes where teams are building and different leaders are having discussions. There's production chats. There's, like I said, there's games. It's everything. Complaining. There's a whole room or something where it's all the quotes of Cosmos. David, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Those are fun too. Yeah,
those are very, very fun. So
they're not just Cosmos quotes. They're just they're general. Like we already know that like as part of Cosmos, we sort of have all these like sister communities and also just people that are really common in our space that maybe we actually be hanging for their individual things, and so there's a lot of that being pulled into even to the quotes. There's a whole lot of Christopher Duel streams. I will say that.
Yes, there's a lot of Christopher Duel stuff in there. So it's always like, so it's even Cosmos adjacent, like people whom we are. It's just there's something for everyone on there. So, anyways, apparently that's the comment that he gave. That's the link, and then I think you can also go to Discord and just search for Cosmos Creative TV. Correct?
Probably, yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, and then Pan had a question about the data on Discord. Who owns the chats on Discord? She's probably thinking about getting one. I don't know if she has one yet.
Like who? Like I'm not sure what she means about who owns the data. I mean, it's a chat server as essentially at its core. Like your video chats, nobody sees those except the people that are in there. They don't get saved. But the text chats, they're there for everybody that's on the server to see. So if you comment in the main threads, that stays there. It's I don't like, I suppose that would be more naturally owned by Discord as a service in general, but I don't know that it's owned per se.
Right. And then so if
Yeah.
anyone goes in there, if they,
Yeah.
they might run into Manny, if we get Manny on there, you might run into David.
Yeah.
You might run into MM. It's weird. Like just any type of different person could be in there at any moment, which is very fun.
We do have nightly. Basically, I don't know. I've been doing it for months. I've missed like one day. Pretty much every night, I spend time with at least a few people that pop into one of the voice chats on there. We just hang out. We finish our nights out that way. That's how I've been finishing my nights out, and conversation can go all sorts of directions. It's
And my guess is,
pleasant.
and like I said, I'm new to this, but I think also the performers of Cosmos, I think it's always cool that they have some private space, like a dressing room or like a green room where they're not performing. So I think that's important too, where they have these little private spaces where they can just sort of kick back and they don't have to worry about a live audience or controversy or anything. So I think it's cool that we have like Cosmos on air, and then we have so much going on behind the scenes. And Pan just wanted to know, so it's kind of like
we have a whole
Messenger.
family. It's a whole family.
Yeah.
It's our community in general. And I mean, honestly, even on specifically the Cosmos Discord server, the people on there might not most of the people on there are not specifically part of the Cosmos team. They're people from other adjacent communities that we're all interconnected. We all hang for each other's
Or they
content.
might watch the shows. They might like, some of the content on there. Pan just wanted to know, so it's kind of like Messenger. She's wondering
it's a lot better than Messenger, Pan, in the way that if you want to create a space, like, all right, so on Messenger, the prime example that I can give is that I've seen a lot of team situations happen where if somebody has a group or some sort of project that they have together, they will create a Messenger chat, and a Messenger chat is going to be linear, right? It's just going to be this one linear thing of a bunch of messages just in one single thread. But if you have a Discord server, you can create a bunch of chats or a bunch of like spaces that are organized and titled accordingly, and there's a column that lists all of those, that says this is for this, this is for this, this is for this. And so you get to have something like sort of that team structure that people throw together in a Messenger chat, but you get to have it a lot more organized. You can and once you organize it, the nice thing is even if it turns into a lot of information, every single screen, every single one of those chats or screens that you create in Discord, they're all searchable. So if you have one that is devoted towards particular images that are important for you to use for your service, you can, as long as everybody titles them and says so in that before they share them, you could just search for it in the search bar and it'll take you straight to it. So it's a much more organized way of creating a team structure. So and I didn't realize that potential until I saw what MM was doing. To me, it was just a bunch of chat rooms before that, which even if it's a bunch of chat rooms, it's still handy because you can create topic specific chat rooms. Like if you got some nerds that like to talk about music gear, you got a music gear chat room where they can all just nerd out and talk about music gear. And then you got some people that just want to talk about music. You got people that want to share memes. You have separate chats within your Discord server for those purposes. It's much more organized. It's not just this one ugly linear situation. And we've all been sucked into those massive Facebook group chats that have so many people and
Yeah.
there's so much talking, and we're going through our workday and our phones are like bing, bing.
You got to mute those. You got to mute.
Yeah,
them.
I mute everyone that I get attitude. I mute them because you can't keep up. You can't keep up.
Mhm.
And what I tell people because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I tell them, I'm like, look, I will open up those chats and I will
At your own peril.
I will scroll back a maximum of 3 screen buffers. After 3, I'm not looking at whatever's beyond that. I'm just not. I'm not going to care. Whatever happened above that, I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to read it. It's too much. It's too much to keep up with. I can't do it.
So Discord, Discord seems like it's a little bit more elegant and easy to. All right. So Pan, you might want to check out the Cosmos Discord, and that might give you a better right. She can come on and join. I think they're getting ready to go there now. I see Brittany and Tara back there. So I think that's where they're headed. I'm
ready because I know I'm going to be up a couple hours. I'm ready to see some new people pop in there so I can greet them. We'll see.
Yeah, David is very good at keeping the glue of the community, making people feel very welcome, and also providing so many technological answers. And he's just really great at getting people engaged. So I think we need to feature you more, David. You know. We need to feature you more.
You know what? Like I'm struggling with this a little bit, but I don't know what's happened inside of me recently. But I've been saying yes to a lot of things. So if you need something, maybe hit me up like soon. I'm probably gonna say yes. I might.
All right, he's in a yes mood.
I'm a yes man right now. In this, I'm in a yes man phase at the moment.
I was just thinking, Renee. The last improv we did with Pan, you were talking about, Olenka was talking about her ex-boyfriend, Ivan. I think we found our Ivan.
I think he's the Ivan. Yes, exactly. Pan, make David. Make him come on an improv show because I wanted to ask you that, David.
You know what? Like I thought about it when you guys were doing that. I think I would struggle. Like, let me ponder on that. If there is some kind of character I could pull off.
Pan just said yes. Manny pitched it, and Pan just knocked it out of the park.
I'm not entirely sure I could stay in. I'll consider it.
10-minute slot. It's a 10-minute slot.
If I think it's a possibility, I'll let you guys know because it was so fun to watch you guys before. You know what? Like I got to be honest. I have the most massive crush on Pan with a French accent. I'm sorry. Like that
we all do. It's like so great.
Even though she seems like a not very like she's like kind of mean. Like she's kind of harsh, but I'm like
I feel
you know
like
what?
That's part of the part of the allure for me.
As long as she speaks to me in a French accent, I would let her be like cruel to me and probably enjoy it. Like I would probably enjoy it.
Are you listening to this, Pan? Okay,
she's hearing it. She already knows.
That's
I've basically said as much before.
All right, we need that on improv night.
Cruel I think to me in French.
Insult me in French.
And smoke her fake cigarette. Yeah.
All right. Oh, you know what? Pan, I think, is joining the Discord. I know Julie said she got an invite to Discord. She's on there. I think new people came in from this show. How cool is that?
Brittany's also a member of the official welcoming committee in SDF, but she may as well be a part of the welcoming committee.
She's definitely Cosmos. Yeah. Brittany is all things beautiful, all things Cosmos, everything we stand for. We love you, Brittany, and shout outs to Discord. And I think a bunch of people are going to raid the Discord right now. So anyone who goes over there, have fun. I'm going to go eat because I haven't eaten yet. I'm starving, and I'm going to eat about 15 spiders with my dinner.
Yeah, like what you know what we talked about this briefly before we cut it off. What wine will you prepare? Will you pair it with?
Only Jay Thompson would know. Only Jay Thompson would really know that.
So we have to have a future show about this. Okay,
a whole show. But my guess out the gate is going to be a Merlot. But I'm not really certain.
That pairs well with spider.
I think it would pair well with spider, and I think it depends on the spider. And now I'm going to vomit if I think about it. I was able to stay.
Now you're not going to be able to eat. I'm sorry. You're going to be like, nope. Nope.
All I'm gonna think about is spiders. Oh my gosh, it's so hilarious. Okay, thank you everybody for hanging out. We had some of the biggest like turnout that we've ever had. I think everybody wanted to see. And shout out to Bethy, by the way. I know she was here earlier from SDF. We love you, Bethy. David, of course, is Bethy's bestie, so that's how that worked. But
I love Bethy.
shout out to everybody, and we love everybody. And click on all the links that are up there or down there in the video description. And we'll see you guys tomorrow in Big Monster Briefing Room.
Manny,
So-
we're officially